This is Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Kicking off hour 2 here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158, alongside Jonathan Von Tobel, Stormy Bonantoni with you. We're live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Remember, if you missed any of hour 1 of the program, you can always find Money Moves in podcast form, wherever you get your podcast. Download and listen on your own time. Great first hour. We talked through all of the World Cup reaction from the weekend, plenty of Major League Baseball, and looking ahead to what we have on deck this hour, our college football top 25 reveal will continue. We'll hit on the number 18 and number 19 teams that we have in the country. We'll get into some WNBA talk in the next segment. Kirian Spector of RotoWire going to help us preview tonight's 4-game slate and best bets at the end of the hour. But we will kick things off here talking some NFL. Training camp season is officially here. Roll that open.
Join Stormy and JVT as they go on the Money Moves NFL Training Camp Tour.
Woo-hoo. Training camp tour time. For anyone who missed hour 1, though, you want to rehash how we got to this idea?
Well, I mean, this goes back to old school Madden when you would have to, if you played on franchise mode before the season, I think it was 2005 or 2004, you'd go to mini camps and training camps, and it would be like a little map, and you would go from city to city. And so we had this spark of ideas. So everybody always does 32 teams in 32 days and starting from the bottom and working the way up. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it a little differently. No real rhyme or reason outside of geographical location for the way that we are starting with our teams, starting on the East Coast. And really, the only thing that we have in mind is that we will end in Los Angeles, where the Super Bowl will be. So we will end with the Los Angeles Rams, the Super Bowl favorite, and the host of the Super Bowl this year, which does mean the penultimate team is going to be the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yes. Okay. That
does not
they play in
mean
the
it's
same
our
stadium.
favorite team, though.
Yes.
Just so you know that.
It's just what we had to do.
Yeah.
Geography, which you mentioned we're starting out east, though, with the Carolina Panthers. It is year 3 now for Dave Canales. Brought the team up from 2 wins to 5 his first season, from 5 to 8 last year, and an NFC South Division championship, despite being under 500. Ended up pushing the aforementioned Los Angeles Rams, by the way, to the brink in the wild card round as well. End up losing 31-34. But they are the second team in 4 years now to win the NFC South with an 8-9 record. Do we get another one here this year?
I mean, maybe. There's a possibility for that. I think this is really about... So the Panthers had a pretty good offseason. And a lot of it was focused on improving their defense. And I think that was probably the way to go for the most part. Last year, if you look at what the Panthers did or failed to do, 22nd in expected points added per play by opponents, you want to be better than that. And so you do that by adding along the front 7. Jalen Phillips is a really big addition for a front that didn't really pressure a ton of quarterbacks. That's really going to help a secondary that hadn't been great, and Lloyd as well, huh?
Didn't really pressure. 21.4% pressure rate, dead last in the NFL.
Yeah, it's not good. So Phillips should help you out there. So we'll see if that is actually going to really push these numbers up, because expected points added, things like that. A lot of that does tie into pass defense in the sense of not being able to pressure a quarterback, getting explosive plays or some havoc plays. So Phillips' presence should allow that to happen here. I think that's really what you're focusing on. I think Bryce Young is good enough to be a game manager and a starting quarterback for a team that can win a division. I think I've kind of come to terms with the sense of, I don't know if he's like the guy, but you've kind of at a point where you have to at least try to see if you still have something here. He's gotten incrementally better every single season, but I don't know if there's enough explosiveness to really look at this team as a legitimate threat in the National Football League. But in a NFC South, which is pretty weak, I would say, sure, he's good enough.
I think your point is well taken, though. The incrementally better, to me, matters, though, right? That every season he's taken a step in the right direction. Completion percentage, average yards per pass, touchdowns, passer rating, all gone up, sacks gone down, like all very important things. Also, the offensive line, they retooled it last year, had some injuries, though. Left tackle, most notably, with Aquano, ruptured his patellar tendon in the playoff loss to the Rams. They tried to backfill that with Monroe Freeling in the draft. Rasheed Walker, also who they signed from Green Bay, but they lose their starting center in Cade Mays, which is a big loss, signed Luke Fortner and drafted Sam Hecht. A lot of questions there, right? And running back as well in terms of the support. Jonathan Brooks has been touted as this star, and even in the offseason has been talked about, hey, like this guy could really break out and be a stud. But the injury history is a concern, absolutely. Will he ultimately take over this role from Chuba Hubbard? We don't know, but the Rico Dowdle loss is one you're going to feel because he was kind of their pop play, most dominant option in the backfield. A lot of questions, certainly. All of that to say, I am very high on this Panthers team continuing to improve, but they have the third hardest schedule in the entire National Football League. That I don't think there's anything I can really bet on them unless you think they're going to exceed expectations and want to take a shot in the division again.
Yeah. So here's the thing. This is where I think we'll argue. You are factually correct when you say Bryce Young has improved every single year. Having said that, you go from well below average to below average when you're talking about improving, and that to me is the problem. And he's also gotten not worse, but some advanced statistics have pointed to an offense that does not trust him or a play caller that doesn't trust him. For example, completed air yards per completion, so the yards that the ball traveled in the air past the line of scrimmage. His 2024 season was 6.1. Last year was 4.8. That's a lot of game management. That's a lot of simple throws that you're not being asked to make. And that is, I don't think, a really big sign for Canales to sit there and trust him. Intended air yards per attempt as well. That's gone from as high as 8.6 his second year in the season to 6.4 career low last year too. I think Canales is a really good play caller. I think he clearly understands what he has at quarterback. And I don't think he's asking Bryce Young to do that much. And to your point about Dowdle, I actually like Canales enough to, as an offensive play caller, that I don't know if they're going to miss him per se, because I think this running attack is good enough that they're going to be able to plug and play and find some guys. And again, are they good enough to win the division? Sure. I just think that there is a very clear limitation with this offense. You need to be explosive. You need to be able to generate those 15-yard completions and get those chunk plays. And I don't think that Young is the trigger man for something like that.
I do think there's a chance, though, for him to continue to get better in those areas. And I don't think that's crazy to be optimistic about that, given the division that you play in. It is a third year now in this system. You bring back the offensive rookie of the year in Teteroa McMillan. Jalen Coker's got a new deal. He's got to be happy. It's definitely a prove-it year now for Xavier Legette at this point for wide receiver 3. But you bring in John Mechie as well, who's healthy, who has a great relationship with Bryce Young going back to Alabama. And I think the backup situation too, should Bryce Young get injured or he's not living up to what you need him to do. Don't hate Kenny Pickett. I don't hate Haynes King. Like I think I'm just, no. You have to think about the context with which we're talking about Carolina. We're not saying this is a Super Bowl contender, right? Like that's not how I'm talking about. I'm just saying, can they be better than the worst in the NFC South and contend for this division that is up in the air each and every year? Yeah. I think so. For a division that, like I just said, 2 of the last 4 winners were under 500 teams.
We're generally agreeing with the same thing. It's just, the trajectory of Young is, I think, the one place where we get stuck. And here's the thing, we'll talk about the Saints coming up in the next few days, but what if the Saints are as improved as the market thinks they're going to be? What if the Falcons are everything I think they're going to be? What if the Buccaneers?
I think the Falcons are going to be good.
And if the Buccaneers, I think the Buccaneers at the very least have a pretty solid floor that what it is. So if that all plays out, I think there's clearly a team that is standing up when the music stops playing. If we're going to use the musical chairs reference, I think that's Carolina. And so, finding some, look, it's not going out on a big limb, but it speaks to my value or the value I see in the Atlanta Falcons, but also finding some of those division exactas, finding something for Carolina to finish 4th in the division, things like that. I think those are perfectly plausible scenarios for Carolina.
I think they're going to be good. I mean, not good, but I think they're going to be good enough in this division. I did work, but I didn't have a great.
Who did you used to work for?
I don't want to say that. Yes, I did work for the Carolina Panthers. I probably shouldn't say this publicly, but I did not have a great experience there. So I could be easily much more negative about the Panthers than I have been.
Let's think about different ways to play this. If you're really how much you're buying into this, would you? I mean, Dave Canales is 25-1 to win Coach of the Year.
No.
Okay.
Because he's already made the improvements the last 2 years.
Coach of the Year generally too. I mean, generally too, you would have to very much exceed expectations. They would have to win 11 plus games.
Yeah, and that's not happening. I will say though, I know I mentioned their schedule and the difficulty of it. They also have an early bye week 5, which sucks. But they do travel the least of any team in the NFL as well this year. They don't have a single West Coast game. All of the West teams have to travel to them. Nothing on the international slate either. The farthest they go is Minneapolis. Total miles traveled, and I thought this was funny just because I'm a 49ers fan, obviously, and they've had the most miles traveled. The Panthers will go 8,740 miles compared to San Francisco's 38,000. Mm-hmm. So at least they'll have that on their side for what is a difficult schedule. I know we're talking so much about the offense. I have my biggest questions are on the Panthers defense than they are the offense.
I had a question for you.
What's that?
Jalen Phillips, 80-1 to win Defensive Player of the Year.
If he could make their pass rush something,
mm-hmm.
That's a good bang for your buck. I don't think he's going to win it because he just doesn't have the sack numbers and you need those. But if he could improve that pass rush, I think he could put himself in the running for it.
Okay. Trying to find ways. If you're a pro Panther, trying to find ways to play this. So would you just simply bet over the win total?
I would do the division Or I would look, if you're pro Panthers but don't think they'll win the division, see what kind of plus money you can get in the exact division outcome stuff. Like pick your winner for the division, and then I could see Carolina finishing second in the division.
Okay.
Or you could do it whatever way you want to. Like I know you disagree with me. You think they could finish in last, but there's a lot of plus money propositions in that market for the order of finish or where a team could finish in the division that I think are pretty interesting. As we're talking NFL, by the way, we mentioned our NFL betting guide is out now, vsin.com/subscribe if you want to get involved in that. And as the sports calendar never stops, yes, we're already gearing up for football season, but we've got the WNBA on our screens right now, Major League Baseball each and every day. The Sharp Plays is covering it all, winning for 15 straight years. All of it's documented. Logs posted publicly at sharpplays.com as well. We know that kind of transparency can be rare in the industry, but when the Sharp Plays move, sportsbooks take notice. They've got advanced AI to check out, trusted insider intel, and are always finding value before numbers shift. Start winning with them today at sharpplays.com. Speaking of that betting guide, I know the theme this year was the burning questions for each team. Steve Makinen did the write-up for the NFC South. His questions were, I think, a lot of what we were addressing. How much better will Bryce Young be? What are the expectations for the defense? But this last one I didn't really take into consideration. Are these the right coaches for the Panthers?
I would say yes. I mean, I'm a Canales guy. The running scheme's awesome. And to the point about what we've just really spent most of the segment on, Bryce Young has gotten better, and he had a very strong year. So we will see. By the way, this team covered 11, 12 games, depending on the closing line last year, too. So they've been a very good ATS team.
One thing I did fail to mention, Canales no longer calling plays anymore. He is delegating OC. Brad Idzik will be handling those business. But, I mean, he knows the system inside and out, worked together in Tampa and Seattle, and trusting in his OC to be the play caller in 2026.
Hey, let me get your attention real quick, podcast listeners. I've got something for you that feels too good to be true. First, credit where credit is due. If you're listening to this podcast, you're already leveling up your betting game. You're riding along with our best bets and top angles. And when there's a good game on, you're probably getting involved with a few props and alt markets as well. But there's one more layer if you really want to step things up, and that's VSiN Pro. Yeah, I've mentioned it before, but things are only getting better for our pro subscribers. We just rolled out our MLB prop projections, breaking down some of the best edges across strikeouts, hits, home runs, and more. And that's on top of everything else pro subscribers already get, including public betting splits, expert picks, and betting guides across the sports calendar. If you haven't tried it yet, stop sleeping on it. You can get your first month for just $9.99 or save big with promo code POD26 on an annual subscription. Hit the link in the description and start cashing in with VSiN Pro. All right, now back to the show.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Let the record show, I was not the only VSiN host to select the Carolina Panthers to win the division in the NFC South this year. Gil Alexander, Patrick Maher, and Wes Reynolds all with me as we welcome you back here to Money Moves alongside Jonathan Von Tobel, Stormy Bonantoni with you. That said, we'll save the football talk for another day. We are just halfway through there or thereabouts, the WNBA season right now. All-Star Weekend upon us beginning on Thursday. Things are really heating up. You look at the standings right now, only 4 games separate the top 6 teams in the league, and nobody hotter of late than the Golden State Valkyries, who are in action today, by the way. So lots to get into as we welcome you back here. Excited to have RotoWire's Kirian Sprecher join us here on the Progressive Guest Line. In addition to WNBA, covers the NBA, NFL, lots of other things as well. Kirian, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we in the commercial break too, before we get into the W, I'm sure you have, as we all have, been monitoring the LeBron situation. What have you made of the recent odds movement over the weekend that Miami is now the spot all of a sudden? We thought it was Cleveland. Where's he going to end up?
I think Miami, it has to be Miami. Obviously, they made the move for Giannis. You have Giannis and Bam there, but the rest of that roster is still, a little sparse. They traded away a lot of their depth. So I think they're going to make one more big move. A lot of people talk about maybe John Morant being an option for Miami. Obviously, I think I'd rather have LeBron even at, 40 plus than I would at John Morant at this point. So I think Miami needs to make one more big move here. The Philadelphia situation doesn't really make any sense to me. You trade for Jaylen Brown. he's upset about having to share, accolades with Jason Tatum. Then you're going to bring in LeBron James and cloud that even more. So I don't like Philly. I think Golden State would be like the most fun for fans, seeing Steph and LeBron pair up. But I think Miami makes the most sense in terms of, familiarity, money, and a chance to win another championship.
All right, let's talk about some W here. We did get some news and wanted to ask you about this big picture because it does tie into one of the games we'll get a little bit later, narratively, that is. Angel Reese in this leg injury. How serious did this look, and how big of a deal is this for the Dream if she's going to miss some extended time?
Yeah, so obviously with the All-Star break right around the corner, I think it's going to be – we're not going to really get a lot of information here. Didn't look great, but they're not going to really have to release any information until after the All-Star break. So it's kind of just wait and see with the Angel Reese situation. I don't mean to throw any shots. We're partners with the WNBA over at RotoWire, but the WNBA reporting on serious injuries has not been great over the last couple of years. Obviously, the Caitlin Clark situation last year, where it was she's going to play, she's back to practice, and then she just ended up missing all of that time. So there's a lot. The reporting on these long-term injuries in the WNBA is really sparse, and with the All-Star break coming up, we're just not really going to get any information for a week or two. But like you said, did not look great, but fingers crossed.
Dream not in action until Wednesday, taking on the Dallas Wings. Speaking of Angel Reese, though, Toronto Tempo head coach Sandy Brondello suspended for their game today against the Aces after having to issue an apology for an inappropriate comment regarding Reese. Not ideal to lose your coach when you're in the midst of a pretty rough stretch right now. The Tempo dropped back-to-back games by margin to the Dream and Mystics, lost 10 of their last 13 now going back to mid-June. They're getting 11.5, though, at home against the Aces. What do you think of that spread? Is it maybe too much for them at home? How do you see it?
No, so this is interesting. Like you said, they don't have their coach. They've been struggling, and they're still, barely double-digit underdogs against the Aces, who have been absolutely fantastic. And A'ja Wilson is better than she's ever been before. So, yeah, this line is a little suspect to me. I think just looking at this game in general, you talked about Brondello, Toronto's also missing a couple of key players here. Brittany Sykes is a 20-point-per-game player. She hasn't played in over a month. Kiki Rice, a promising rookie, hasn't played in 6 weeks. Toronto's also going to be without Niara Sabali, who has been in and out of the lineup kind of all season, but when she's been available, she's been really good. Vegas, other than Kirsten Bell, who's just kind of a rotational player, is fully healthy. These teams haven't played yet this season, so there's really no, track record. This is obviously the first time the Aces are ever going to play the Tempo, so that's a cool, interesting. Obviously, the Aces are one of the best teams in the WNBA over the last handful of years, and playing in the the Tempo in their inaugural season. Lots of eyes on that. But like you said, Toronto's lost 6 of their last 7. Including 3 of the last 4 by at least 13 points. So this team is really struggling here. I would. My initial reaction was Aces all day on this line. They're the better team. Toronto doesn't have their coach, but I'm a little skeptical at this line. And when you're skeptical on these lines, I'm just going to fade the spread. I'm going to look at the over/under here. I'm going to take over 81. I don't think Toronto has any size to stop A'ja Wilson. I think the Aces are going to score at will here, and I think Toronto can catch fire. Marina Mabrey is one of those flamethrower players where if she hits a couple of threes, Toronto can stay in this game for a little bit. So that spread is a little scary there. I think this should be closer to 14-15 with the way both teams have been trending.
All right, well, it was supposed to be one of the games of the day, but we get a little bit of a hit. Paige Becker's not going to play tonight for the Dallas Wings. They are now about a 5.5, 5-point dog. Totals 174.5 or 175. What do you do with this between the Liberty and the Wings tonight?
Yeah, I went from 3.5 to 5.5 last time I checked with this Paige Becker's news. Obviously, this was the game that was supposed to be played last Thursday. New York had some plane troubles, makes it a back-to-back for Dallas. Becker's isn't going to play. It looked like maybe she was going to land in the concussion protocol with the collision she suffered Sunday. Avoided the protocol, but is still going to sit out here. Dallas is also going to be without Elena Smith tonight. These teams are going in opposite directions. New York has lost 5 straight road games, 4 straight overall. Dallas is riding a 6-game win streak. Dallas has already beat New York twice this season, both times by double digits. New York is still playing without Satu Sabali, Leonie Fibic, Marina Johannes will join those players in street clothes for tonight. The trends are telling me to take Dallas even without Becker's, but back-to-backs are just so rare in the WNBA that I'm kind of scared about what the Wings are going to look like tonight, especially without their offensive engine. I'm going to take the veteran-led New York team with Sabrina Ionescu, Brianna Stewart, Jonquel Jones. This New York team is too talented not to get back on track, even though they have some of these big absences. I'm also going to look at the player prop market in this one. Azzi Fudd under 22.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. Fudd hasn't topped this combo prop in over 6 games, and I don't really expect her to be as successful as some might expect with Beckers out. You think Beckers is out, more usage for Fudd, but really that means more defensive attention on Fudd too. And like I said, this is a veteran team. I expect the rookie to struggle a little bit tonight. And it really is a matter of if her 3-point shot is falling. She doesn't contribute much in the rebounding or assist category. So I think New York controls this one, gets the W, and holds the rookie to a modest performance.
Kirian Sprecher of RotoWire joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line. We mentioned off the top the Golden State Valkyries being the hottest team in the league right now, bringing 9-game hot streak into today, 7-2 ATS in that time. Can they keep it up today as well? This elite defense, they are laying 8.5 points at home, total 146.5. How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, so I like Golden State in this one. You know, Valhalla, the home court advantage has been a thing since their inaugural season last year. They're really good at home too. 11-3 at home. Golden State just beat Washington by 15 a couple of days ago. But I'm looking again. I'm going to fade the spread here, and I'm going to look at the total. I like under 146. It's the lowest by far on this 4-game slate here, but I expect this to be a rock fight. Washington has been healthy most of the season, and their offense just really hasn't clicked at all. They've scored more than 70 points only once in their past 4 games. Golden State has held their opponents to under 76 points in 5 straight. So this is a struggling offense meets a dominant defense. And Golden State, they can score for sure, but they might not need to score a bunch of games in this one. So I expect a slow paced game and kind of a rock fight with a lot of missed shots here. So under 146.
All right, last 90 seconds with you. Another big road favorite, 9.5, the number for the Lynx on the road against Seattle. Anything here?
Yeah, so, these teams met up June 6th. Minnesota won by 20. Obviously, you see that and you think the spread should be a little bit bigger. But that was Dominique Malanga's first game back after a 6 or 7 game absence. And she played only 14 minutes off the bench. Since that 20-point loss, Seattle has been more competitive. Malanga has been awesome. Awa Pham has been awesome. Flau'jae Johnson has been awesome. Obviously, individual performances from young players. The team overall has still struggled. But yeah, this is a team. Seattle has been fine on the road, 8-4 against the spread. So I like Seattle to cover here, cover 10.5. We also have a tool over at RotoWire called Smart Money. It kind of just tracks the big bets coming in, and a lot of the significant money that we're tracking through that tool, Smart Money, has a lot of alt spreads of the Lynx at -5.5 or -3.5. So it seems like the Whales think that Minnesota's still going to win this game, but Seattle's going to keep it close. So I'm gonna back them too and take Seattle plus 10.5.
Great note. Thank you for the time. Appreciate your insight.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Kirian Sprecher, everybody. Again, check out all of the work over there at RotoWire. And it is interesting on the surface. You see the top team in the league versus the worst team in the league. But that's why the spread is the great equalizer. And yeah, Seattle's been able to cover some numbers.
All I know is that the Valkyries are going to win the WNBA Finals. That's all I need to know.
Still 8-1.
Still fun, dude. You mentioned it. And you look at their offensive profile, too. Really like it. Shots at the rim, shots from beyond the arc. Screw everything else. We're playing analytically sound hoops.
45-1 in the preseason, 8-1 now. Okay, you hear that music. Coming up on Money Moves, our college football top 25 reveal continues with number 18 and 19 in the rankings. Both teams with new head coaches, one that should benefit from one of the easiest schedules I've seen. Would we be foolish not to take their win total over? We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is the Money Moves College Football Top 25 Rankings.
Yes, it is. The reveal continues as we welcome you back here to Money Moves. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Today, as we continue our top 25, we are hitting on teams number 19 and number 18. So we are officially inside the top 20. One of these teams has, I think it's fair to say, been my white whale big picture, to be one of those outside looking in college football playoff teams. Hasn't been able to get done under Kyle Whittingham. Couldn't Morgan Scalley, number 19 in the top 25 rankings. The Utah Utes coming off a 10-2 season, plus a Las Vegas Bowl win over Nebraska, 7-2 in the Big 12. State. You did? Want to head out to Logan instead of Salt Lake?
Totally a top 20 team in the country.
In terms of the Big 12, they're third on the odds board behind Texas Tech and BYU, plus 650 the price, plus 350 to make the playoffs, minus 525 to miss. Could you imagine if Utah is good? It ends up facing Michigan in the college football playoff. Bum, bum, bum. But this is a team that I do like again this year, even with the revamped coaching staff.
Well, revamped is the word, and along the trenches is where you really revamped. This offensive line just completely pulled apart, both to the NFL and just guys. Of course, their eligibility expiring. Defensive line, same way. Defensive line completely rebuilt here. One would assume that Scalley can, at least with the defense, be kind of status quo there, develop some dudes. I was listening to some guys coming out of Utah and some of the podcasts out there that they have some real good faith that they have kind of retooled in both spots, especially on the offensive line. Some guys that got in, they use a lot of six-man sets, so they're pretty confident that offensive line can be pretty good here. But that, I think, is going to be the really big question, is the offensive line in front of Devin Dampier and this rushing attack. Can you actually get anywhere close to what was one of the better offensive lines in the country last year?
Yes, that is the question, for sure. Especially, yes, you have a veteran quarterback in Devin Dampier who I'm still just surprised, honestly, and kudos to Morgan Scalley for getting Devin Dampier and Bird Ficklin both to stay, because Jason Beck is a part of this offensive coaching staff that all went with Kyle Whittingham over to Michigan. Beck coached Dampier at New Mexico. He recruited Bird Ficklin, and get both of those guys stay for Scalley. So there is clearly a belief in what is going on at Utah, wanting to stay there, wanting to be a part of what they're trying to build. So that'll be important. It is nice that they've got Wayshawn Parker back at running back. I think that'll be huge for them to kind of take a little bit of the pressure off. And I agree with your point, even though they have to retool a lot on defense as well, there's still a lot of veterans on that side of the ball. That is an area that obviously Morgan Scalley has handled for the last God knows how many years. And year after year, even when the talent from the outside looking in hasn't looked like it was going to be that special on that side of the ball, they got more out of it than you expected. One area, though, they really did struggle last year was defending the run. So that will be critical, I think, this season.
Well, that's what you don't like about, rebuilding a defensive line from a group that was not particularly great. But at the same time, we say this all the time of teams that bring a bunch of guys back. Well, if your defense stunk last year and you're bringing everybody back, then is it really going to be that much better? So maybe it's a good thing they're kind of retooling at that. I'll bring this up too, because I brought this up to you in passing because I was watching. I don't know where the comment I saw was the first time around, but I know this one. The guys over at CBS Sports, the Cover 3 podcast, Bud Elliott sat down with JT Wistrickel, I think is his name. He covers Utah. But he brought up, yet again, Stormy, you heard a lot of they want to throw the ball more and they want to open this up. And the thing I brought up to you was reading some quotes coming out of Utah was the fact that Devin Dampier wanted more on his plate because he wanted to be ready for the NFL when it came to checks at the line of scrimmage, all those sort of things. And you do wonder what that means. I don't think it's going to dramatically change this offense, but for a guy who is at his best when he is that dual threat, I wonder what it means if they're changing the offense a bit. For those who don't remember, I think almost peak Devin Dampier, that 2024 New Mexico season, 2,700 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, but 1,100 yards rushing and 19 on the ground. Look, he had 10 last year. He ran for 835. He was dealing with a sports hernia. So maybe just being healthier is really going to help that out. But it does give me, not pause, but some curiosity if this is going to change for Devin Dampier the way that he plays football. I don't think it'll be dramatic enough that it really changes a ton, but it's at least worth mentioning that multiple times now coming out of Utah is the desire to change Devin Dampier to an extent.
I understand something that they want to do, but I think wins and losses are still at the end of the day going to be more important to them in that thought process. So I think they're still going to let Devin be Devin. That said, you look at that Heisman number 72-1. I don't think it's enough because of the tag team element, and they have verbalized it as that with Bird Ficklin, who had 13 total touchdowns a year ago himself, and somebody they really like to utilize his legs. So maybe that's more of what they mean in terms of taking some of the pressure off of Dampier. But that is a number I would avoid. That said, I certainly think they're a contender in the Big 12 once again. Plus 650. Again, that price, win total 8.5. It's juice minus 150 to the over for a reason. I think they could very well win 9 games. They do avoid Texas Tech on the schedule. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, but a lot of those tougher opponents, they do get at home. They get Houston at home. They get BYU at home. Their toughest first road test is at Arizona.
Yep. We completely agree with all points. I mean, I guess we will discount the road trips to Iowa State and Colorado as potentially tough places to go. But I would say this. I mean, do you have with Scally any concerns about a first-time head coach?
No, because he's been around it and been learning from Kyle Whittingham for the last 15 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Also staged a mutiny.
What?
I mean, he got Whittingham out.
I don't think he staged a mutiny. I think that Utah recognized they didn't want to let him walk and go somewhere else because he's been the head coach in waiting for so long. And Whittingham had one foot out the door forever. The fact that he retires from Utah and then still goes and coaches somewhere else, like, it's fascinating to me based on what I have known about Whittingham in the program for the last handful of years. That said, we need to get to number 18 on our list. And I think it's okay that we shortchange them a little bit on time because we talked a lot about Matt Campbell and Penn State already when we were discussing new head coaches in college football this year. One of, what was the number, 33, I believe, in college football this season. But Penn State, obviously last year, they move on from James Franklin. They are an annual contender in the Big Ten. Can't seem to win the big games, though. Here's the thing. Matt Campbell, similar issue. Although I think he is a great coach. He's a great developer. He's great at getting more out of players who come in with less. And he brings over essentially everybody good that he had at Iowa State, which is probably why you discount that road trip to Iowa State a little bit, because they ain't got anybody anymore. Rocco Becht, your new quarterback at Penn State, a lot of talent, I think, that could flourish, and a schedule that, my God, what a gift Matt Campbell is given. Considering we talked about the gauntlet Brent Venables has to go through in the SEC, you have no Oregon, no Ohio State, no Indiana to have to work with. Matt Campbell was handed a gift here. Can he take advantage of it with this roster?
Okay, I have some cause for pause when it comes to Penn State and under Matt Campbell, but the big gravitational pull of this schedule is going to, I think, deter me from acting on that maybe until next year or until you get to some of the big boys, should you make it to the playoff, whatever it's going to be. Because as you mentioned, the schedule's ridiculous.
Look at their non-con.
Yeah. But
it's Marshall, Temple, and Buffalo.
Yes. But, I mean, there is some opportunity, right, to maybe fade this team or go against them. The home game against USC. A road game against Michigan, even we'll talk about the road game against Washington. It's a tough little stretch there for this group overall. So those are going to be some spots to circle. I just go back to, man, we could talk about injuries or whatever it is. This passing attack at Iowa State last year was mundane, and that was in a worse conference. They were pretty decent in terms of generating pass explosives, but everything else, we're talking well below average in terms of percentiles. If you whittle it down to just passing, we're talking about floating around the 93rd to 80th percentile in different categories statistically, from success rate to expected points added per play. I just don't know if this is a team that is on par with some of the best in the Big Ten, and I think there's going to be a pretty big gap. But as we talked about, I think they're probably decent enough to take advantage of the schedule. But, man, I think that there's some sneaky average to this Penn State team that might pop up here and there, and maybe in spots where you least expect it to.
I am higher on them, I think, than most talent-wise. I mean, how long was Rocco Becht playing through a torn labrum? And I think like 2 months. He had that surgery in December. The pieces that you bring over, also from a coaching standpoint, you know what a sucker I am specifically for head coach, OC, quarterback continuity. You have all of that with Campbell, Taylor Mauser, and Rocco Becht. Yes, it was the non-throwing shoulder. I don't know if that's what you were looking up. Yes, it was the non-throwing shoulder. No. But he was injured for a long time. And some of the offensive weapons that he brought over, I think are good. Like, I really like Brett Eskelsen. I really like Chase Sowell. Ben Bramer at tight end is going to be a massive matchup nightmare.
Those are good. They're not great.
I think with this schedule, they could look great. That's the thing.
Sure.
And so, yes, I understand your point about USC on October 10th, but you're at home. Could be getting a little bit chilly for those Southern California boys. And at Michigan is going to be tough.
Okay, let me ask you this question then. So 8.5 over minus 160.
Alt over 9.5.
Alt over 9.5. So you think they're going to get one of those USC, Michigan, or Washington games?
I think they could steal one, yeah.
Okay, because that was going to be my question is, I don't think it would be shocking.
I don't want to lay minus 166 for them to win 9 games, but you can get plus 145 on the alt over.
Because I don't think it would be shocking if they lose 3 games and all 3 of them are not lopsided, but comfortable losses, and those are the 3 that we have circled that they lose those. And then that means you got to run everything else perfectly. And I just don't think at $1.60 or whatever it is right now that is worth looking at.
That's why I say if you bet the over, I would prefer to go the alt because they're going to really exceed expectations on it.
Smelling a show bet here on a Penn State win total?
Well, I think a lot of this, though, is contingent on Rocco Becht's health. So this is not a bet that I have in pocket, but I look at that schedule and cannot help but think if Rocco Becht stays healthy, that's a 10-win team.
Yep.
So that's how I see it. We'll see if you agree or not. Always, you can tweet at us at Storm Bonatoni, at me, JBT. We've got the email moneymoves@vsin.com. If you agree or disagree with the top 25, feel free to chime in. 25, Houston. 24, SMU. 23, Iowa. 22, Boise State. 21, Louisville. 20, Arizona. And today, 19 and 18, Utah and Penn State.
Breaking LeBron news when we come back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Remember, everybody, with football season around the corner, the VSiN NFL betting guide is out now. Whether you're betting futures, win totals, division races, awards, Super Bowl odds, our guide helps you get ahead of the market before training camps. And we know a couple. We've already had rookies report. Inside, you'll find breakdowns of all 32 teams, projected win totals, and best bets from all of your favorite VSiN show hosts and experts. You'll get futures analysis, power ratings, and so much more. Get the guide today as part of our football special for just $175. The sooner you sign up, the more value you get, because it gets you full access to everything we do at vsin.com, as well as all of our guides through every major sport through the Super Bowl. That includes the daily best bets, real-time bet splits from DraftKings and Circa, AI-powered prop projections, and 24/7 video on the VSiN Watch app. You can head over to vsin.com/subscribe now. That's vsin.com/subscribe. And we got an interesting NFL headline, actually, a few minutes ago from Nick Sirianni, if I remember correctly.
Oh, about using ChatGPT to communicate with his team. I don't even know.
Love that for us.
Actually,
Anyways,
we have a lot of different stuff we have to hit real quick before the breaks. Where do you want to go first?
We do. Yeah. Let's go with NBA first, because you dropped the bomb that we
finally
got news on LeBron James. That is.
Yep. And it does look like we have some movement here, Stormy Bonatoni. According to Shams, who has spoken to Rich Paul, LeBron James has no decision and no timetable on a decision.
The news is there is no news. Love that. It's the worst.
No, hold on. Shams' understanding is that it's the Heat, the Cavaliers, and the 76ers.
Oh, no way. So the same teams everybody's been talking about the whole time. Crazy.
Yeah, big update. Yep.
At least he didn't mention Golden State this time around.
Yes.
I'm going to laugh when that's where he ends up going.
Yeah.
That's the final update from Shams, and then the next thing we hear is Golden State.
I would dig it if he was just like, I retire. I really decided to look around really hard, and I've just thought, you know what, all these teams think I'm out.
Golden State, by the way, is ahead of Philadelphia on the odds market. When you look at some of these trading markets, Miami out at 48% at Kalshi right now. Cleveland Cavaliers 27%, Golden State 14%, Philly 11%.
Yep. All right. The other follow-up that I wanted to hit, Mike Montesano, regular guest and friend of the network at Bets and Reps up on X. I think this is good for you here. You and I disagree on Penn State's fate, but ultimately he says, Stormy, if you're going to play Penn State alternate over 9.5 plus 160, you may as well play them plus 450 to make the college football playoff. 10 wins should get them in. Just a thought.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I love that mindset. If you are like me and think Matt Campbell can actually get more out of this roster given the schedule,
Get more out of the
then I
roster.
think
It's
that's
his
the
roster
angle.
from last year.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying given the way that
In a
you
tougher
have,
conference.
given the way you have described said roster, they dealt with a lot of injuries last year, dude. It derailed everything.
They stink.
Okay, that's
You're
your
gonna make
opinion.
me steer even
that's
harder
why I
into
said,
this.
Go for it. Bet you're
many Iowa
getting
State
plus
games did you have
money
last year?
on the under. I only did one. You're getting plus money on the under 8.5
that the
plus
Arizona game?
130. Who did
Right? Was that the comeback game? I think it was, right?
It all blurs together.
Okay,
I don't recall. But yeah, I only did one. It was in
I know they had injuries. Trust me, you're looking at, I at one point was a very big Rocco Becht fan. I think it was 2 years ago I had a long shot of him to win the Heisman. I thought and think he's a really solid quarterback. I think that this is a spectacularly above average group.
Well, your overall point though about the coaching hire, like I am somebody who's probably higher than many on Matt Campbell, but given what you had in James Franklin, like what you have said in the grass isn't always greener thing is very, very real. You had a guy that was consistently getting you double-digit win seasons, and you're walking away from that. And then what happened immediately after that? Every single coach that you targeted to try to become your next head coach, they used your job as leverage to get better contracts for their current jobs and stay put and not come to you.
Correct.
So, I mean, that's the situation that you put yourself in.
Uh-huh.
That said, okay, we did get another tweet as well. Colin Murphy said, Stormy, I hope one day I find myself someone who loves me like JVT loves Devin Dampier and the turnover-worthy play statistic.
I don't remember mentioning turnover-worthy plays, but I do love Devin Dampier.
Not in this instance, but things that you love to talk about, that's definitely up there.
Turnover-worthy plays are a very good indicator of how much you take care of the ball. And I go back to the year 2 years ago where everybody was complaining when Josh Allen, I believe, won MVP, but led the league in interceptions. But if you actually looked at the numbers, he had cut down his turnover-worthy play rate immensely from the season prior. It's just that the turnover-worthy plays were turning into turnovers. So that was a high rate of conversion that didn't really work in his favor.
Thank you for tweeting at us, by the way. Again, if you ever want to chime into the show, at me, JVT, at Storm Bonantoni. We've also got the email, moneymoves@vsin.com. Last few minutes here. Let's recap the bets from the weekend. So, okay, you want to start then, if that's the way the reaction we're given?
I mean, yeah, not really great. You want to throw mine up here. Not awesome. Scotty Scheffler finished in the top 5, so that was great, plus 150. But the Spain regulation win under 2.5 goals parlay. Come on, we deserve better than that, did we not? And then the other outrights in place for the Open. Scotty Scheffler to win the Open. Chris Gotterup to win, and then Gotterup top 10. I think Gotterup finished 18th or somewhere in that range, but ultimately couldn't get it done there. So Scotty dampens the blow a bit here, but really kind of feel like deserve better with Spain and the regulation win with parlayed with the under 2.5 goals in that final.
T18, you were correct on Gotterup. That's where he finished. Hit and miss for me. The Spain, I had them in regulation plus 125 against Argentina, so that doesn't come home. We also officially get the France to win the World Cup ticket out of the little area in your app where you just have to stare at it every single day, even though they're out of the tournament. Kylian Mbappe, meanwhile, we got there for Golden Boot, ladies and gentlemen. It was just a half unit play at the 6-1, but we get there, helps us boost the numbers. And Tommy Fleetwood, we said it time and time again, he will break your heart if you bet him in the outright market. But keep playing, old boy, in the top 10s and top 20s. It'll cash for you, and it did. He ends up finishing T4 when all was said and done with your boy Scotty. 3 under in the final round, 7 under for the tournament. So there we go. Anything that you are adding today?
Yes, actually, and we didn't get to a ton of this from a baseball perspective, so let's talk about a couple of things here. Let's go to Pirates and Yankees really quick because we didn't have time to talk about this, but interesting matchup. Braxton Ashcraft's going to get the start for the Pirates, and Ryan Weathers will oppose him today. We've seen some movement in favor of the Pirates, and I would agree. I think that Ashcraft has been pitching really well. Gets a Yankees lineup that, over the larger sample size in recent weeks, has not been playing very well at all. 3.49 ERA, 3.29 on the expected for Ashcraft. You dig a little bit deeper and you see that he's been pitching pretty well outside of the 2 blemishes in his last 3 starts. You're taking a little bit of a risk here. Sandwiched between 5 2/3 at Washington, where he gives up just 1 earned run and strikes out 7, or 10 earned runs in 2 starts on the road against Philly and home against Milwaukee. But I think that if you look at the bigger picture, this dude's been pitching extremely well, prone to the blowups as any other pitcher. But I think if you're getting him a small dog price against this Yankees lineup, I will trust Ashcraft to potentially get this done on a money line price. Weathers on the other side, we should note, 4.15 ERA, 4.40 on the expected. Some little blips there when you look at the contact numbers for him too. So I'm going to ask this Pirates team with Ashcraft to get this here done. Money line play on the Pittsburgh Pirates. You can find even money or minus 102.
So fading New York in one spot, betting on New York in another, it looks like?
Yeah, I think that's we're also going to go here, and there's a different way we could play this. We talked about Mizorowski and the way that he's been pitching, and also you mentioned the revenge spot for Peralta and whatnot. So I think there's different ways to play it. I think from a price standpoint, we can go ahead and take our shot against our guy here and take a money line play on the Mets. Instead, these will be my famous last words. Let's get cute with it and take a 1.5 at minus 105 with the New York Mets. And again, everything's pretty much tied together, right? You know, if I think there's some value in a plus 180 or so on the Mets, then the run line tied into that, I think there's something there too. So plus 1.5 runs, minus 105. Given everything we've talked about and with the fatigue factor coming in for Mizorowski, let's see if the Mets can get this done. At the very least, stay inside a 1.5. We'll go Mets plus 1.5 on the run line, minus 105.
You know what this means? It means I have to bet baseball again.
I mean, baseball's fun. Why not?
Because I was having so much fun with the World Cup, and it was getting me out of my poor track record in baseball. But now this is all that I really have day to day. And I guess I can delve into the W a little bit more. I've been listening to you a good bit. Tyler Shoemaker has great write-ups up at vsin.com. I've been paying attention to more.
At least you're attacking with confidence.
Oh, man. How is it that I was more confident in a sport I don't watch than one that I do?
I don't know.
Not great.
Is this leading up to a play, or are you just saying that?
I don't have anything for today.
It sounded like you were building up to something.
No, I don't have anything for today, but now that the World Cup is officially in the rear view, that's what I'm going to have to do now.
I will say this, too. We're starting to see this price dip a little bit, maybe toward the playable area. But I was tempted by George Kirby and the Seattle Mariners. They are playing host to the Cincinnati Reds today. Circa opened up $1.50. We're down to $1.37. Can Kirby pitch well enough against this boomer bust Reds lineup at home that he can get it done? We've talked about the mundane nature of this Mariners team and the fact that they just really won't put things together. But I feel like Kirby's floor is raised against this lineup. But if we get to like that $1.35, $1.30 price, then I think that's playable here. But some pretty big price tags out there on the Mariners, and they're starting to dip.
I just saw a quote from John Mateer out there at Media Days, Oklahoma quarterback.
Moneyline material?
He was asked about reading defenses in the SEC. Quote, "There's not really any time to think. If someone is open, you just throw it to them." That's not what I wanted to hear from my quarterback. Gotta tell you, John.
Who would you? We'll have to think about some unique way to tie in Oklahoma and Penn State. I'm gonna get those two things confused. Your love for both Oklahoma and Penn State. We got to find a way to mix them together.
I wouldn't say I have a love for Oklahoma. They have the second toughest schedule in all of college football, but I think they should be pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
What's so wrong with it? Probably one of the best defenses in the SEC.
My mind's already mush. What did Mateer do gambling wise? He did something last year.
Yeah, well, we can revisit that.
Was he asking for money or something like that?
It was a Venmo request, but we don't think it was actually real, right? It was just like a joke.
You know what is real? Follow the money.
Definitely not a joke. Mitch and Paul coming up next. Have a great day, everybody.
Is in Wisconsin, Stormy?
Dang it! I'm so bad.